So, good morning. Today we are going to discuss about various functions of human resource management. Remember, we have already discussed about what are the different type of functions which are performed by HR managers, which is known as operative functions. Okay. There are few functions which are performed by all managers like planning, organizing, leading and controlling. But when we are talking about human resource functions, okay, which is specifically performed by HR managers. Okay. I had given you a brief overview like employment related practices, human resource development, compensation management and human relations. Okay. Now, if you look at these functions briefly, you can say that some of these functions include planning for organization, jobs and people. That is basically you are going to design organizations, you are going for manpower planning and you are going to plan about the organization. Organization in the sense what kind of structure it will have. Okay. So, the first thing before you even go for manpower planning is important to go for organizational structure, that is a prerequisite. Okay. So, unless you develop a structure for the organization, you do not know how many people would be required, what kind of job they are going to perform. Okay. So, when we are talking about organizing, that is planning for organizations. So, you have to develop a structure for the organization. Now, when we talk about developing a structure for the organization, okay, so what you do? You see that what are the different activities that is to be performed by the entire organization. So, the first thing that you see is that you try to list down all the activities that is performed by the organization and then you group them into different categories. So, similar activities are grouped into one category. Say all activities which you think is related to marketing is grouped under marketing. All production processes and related activities are grouped under one category which is known as production. Okay. Got the point? So, you that is how you develop departments and each department is headed by a person. Okay. So, if you remember managerial functions when we are talking about it, that it is planning, organizing and then leading. So, leading means what? You are going to have a person who is going to head a particular department or lead that particular department, and what is his responsibility? To direct, guide and control the activities of that particular department, isn't it? Got the point? So, say for example, if you have a structure like this, say in a manufacturing setup, suppose this is the first level what you call as general manager. Okay. Now, this general manager has a number of managers like say production manager, say HR manager, say marketing manager, say R&D and many more may be there, isn't it? Now, under the production manager you have a number of managers working, isn't it? One is say quality control manager, isn't it? One is the in charge of the manufacturing, one is maintenance manager, okay, and similarly another manager may be there who is working under this production manager. Okay. Now, these activities, when we are talking about these activities, basically they are part of the production process, isn't it? Got the point? Now, when we are talking about these things, what I mean to say is that these people, whether it is quality control in charge or manufacturing in charge or maintenance person or the other person who is working under the production department, okay, they will be reporting to whom? The production manager. and the production manager is reporting to the GM of the company. Okay. So, what is this? This is the structure of the organization. Got the point? So, when we talk about organizational structure, this is how we develop a structure. Okay. So, the first point is planning for organization. So, we are going to have a plan that what kind of a structure it will have. Okay. So, what you do, you first you list down all the activities and then you group similar activities which can be put together, like all activities related to production is put under the category of production manager, and one person is going to be the in charge of that department. This is how we develop a structure for the organization. Okay. So, what does this structure show? Roles and relationships. Roles and relationships. Role means the person who is working here, he has to perform the role of a HR manager. The person who is going to work here is going to perform the role of a production manager, isn't it? So, first you develop a structure and then you put a person on each of these roles, here, here, here as well here. So, at every places you are going to put one person as in charge, isn't it? Got the point? So, he is going to perform certain jobs, quality control engineer, say manufacturing engineer. So, he is going to look into the manufacturing process, he is going to look into the maintenance of the machine, isn't it? He is going to look into the quality of the product, and all of them are reporting to the production manager. So, you are not going to only define the role that what each of them are doing in a particular position, but what kind of reporting relationship exists within the organization, that is also reflected by the structure, isn't it? So, reporting relationship that you can see here is the quality control manager is reporting to the production head. Okay. So, this is what we call the reporting relationship. So, if you look at the structure, okay, you can very well say what kind of a structure, what kind of relationship, reporting relationship I mean, and what kind of different roles which people are there are going to perform. Now, let us have another example which you are more familiar, like say you have say I am going to take an example from IIT Kharagpur. So, the top person in IIT Kharagpur is the director of the institute, then you have deputy directors, then you have a number of deans down the line, isn't it? This level there is only one person, one deputy director is there, but then you have deans, you have a number of deans, dean 1, 2, 3, 4, list goes on 5, 6, suppose you have 6 deans, dean academic, dean UG, dean PG, dean research, dean continuing education, dean alumni affairs. Okay. So, in that sense you have a number of persons who are heading a particular function. So, the person who is here is going to perform a particular role. Suppose he is a person who is in charge of sponsored research and industrial consultancy. Okay. So, you have identified that all activities related to research and consultancy are grouped together, and one person is going to be the in charge, isn't it? And he would be called dean. So, you identify what could be the role of this person, he is to oversee the activities of this particular department which are functions here, isn't it? Now, this is one way to structure the organization. Now, coming down further, you have head of the departments. Okay. Now, you have a number of head of the departments, HODs. Okay. These HODs are going to perform various functions related to one particular department. So, all activities related to teaching in a similar areas are grouped together. So, all social science subjects are put together, and then you have in charge say humanities and social sciences head. All subjects related to the management are put under the person of under the charge of one person, and then he is going to be called head management department, isn't it? That is how you classify and group activities, and then you make a person in charge of that particular department. Okay. Now, under this HOD you will have professors, associate professors, lecturers, and down the line support staff. So, this is the structure, isn't it? So, what does this show? This shows the reporting relationship. Now, head for all administrative activities is going to report to the DD and the director, but functional for all research activity he will be reporting to the Dean SRIC, and then Dean SRIC would report to the director, okay, because director is the executive or head of the institution. So, this is the administrative setup. Now, coming to say this is the academic setup. Now, coming to the administrative setup, there is a person who is called registrar, and this registrar is put here. This registrar is directly reporting to the director. Then under this registrar you have a number of persons who are called DRs, RDP registrars, establishment, accounts, and things like that. And under each DR you have a number of persons who are known as ARs, assistant registrars, okay, who are looking at a particular function. Now, each say AR academic. So, the duties and responsibilities of this person has been defined. There is going to be a person who is going to perform this role, isn't it? So, what the structure shows is the roles and relationship of the people at the workplace. It's clear to you? So, he is going to report to whom. Now, suppose he wants to say something to him, he cannot do it, because this reporting relationship is known as line relationship. In a line relationship is basically this way, downward, that is superior subordinate relationship. Superior always commands and expect compliance from their subordinates, isn't it? But the same is not the situation with the subordinates. They do not command over their superiors. What they can do at the most? They can give advice to their seniors, that if this is done in a particular way, probably it would be better, isn't it? So, if you look at this relationship which goes upward, this is known as a staff relationship, and this is known as line relationship. Line relationship is basically superior subordinate relationship, and when we talk about staff relationship, that is subordinate superior relationship, where the role of a subordinate is more or less advisory in nature. You can advise your seniors, but you cannot give any command to your seniors. But at the same time, if you look at line relationship, which is basically superior subordinate relationship, a superior always command and expect compliance from their subordinates, isn't it? So, this is clear to you. This is how we develop a structure, and for if you develop this structure, you have different roles, and you also know what kind of relationship exists among different roles, who is going to report whom, who is going to advise whom. So, this is what we know as organizational structure. Okay. So, they are going to plan about the structure. So, understanding of structure is basically a prerequisite for any HR manager. You will ask a question, why? Why we should know about the structure of the organization? Yes, any question, any answers to this question? Why understanding of structure is required by the HR manager?
So that he can properly plan and so that in future doesn't have conflicts.
That is required because you know that role clarity is required, isn't it? If you don't have a person for a job, then who is going to do this, that particular job will not be clear. So, now for each assigned job, you have a person who is going to perform that particular job. So, it would make role clear, isn't it? There will be role clarity. The person who is going to be assigned a particular role would be made responsible for the performance he would be accountable for that, isn't it? Otherwise, nobody would take responsibility for the job if it is not done, isn't it? So, it also brings responsibility and accountability on the part of the role incumbent, the person who is going to perform the role. Okay. And reporting relationship should also be very clear, so that you know that who is going to report you, whom you will be reporting, okay, and what you will be reporting. At the same time, you also allow some discretion in their responsibility, isn't it? For example, if you have a job which has not yet been identified who is going to do it, then what will happen? There will be chaos. In that sense, you have to see that whether any one of them can take up the responsibility and perform the job, isn't it? So, some area of discretion is there, even if it is not your area or it is not your responsibility, and if you think that you can take it up, you must take it up without infringing into the responsibility or area of other person, isn't it? Without violating the norms, rules and regulations of the organization. Okay. So, that is important thing. What I was talking about, planning for organizations. If you look at the next point, that is jobs. Okay. Jobs. Another thing is, now you have a job, say production manager. Now, when we are talking about job, the most important thing is that you are going to design the job. Design the job means what could be the content, how much autonomy it will be having, what kind of responsibility you are giving to the person, okay, what kind of relationship this job will have with other job. So, this is what we know as job design. Okay. And another thing that is done along with this job design is known as job analysis. Okay. You design the job to identify the content of the job, okay, how much autonomy will be there, how much responsibility this job will have, okay, and what kind of relationship this job will have with the other job. But when we talk about job analysis, it is nothing else but the duties and responsibilities associated with a particular job. So, job analysis basically is nothing else but the duties, responsibilities. Duties and responsibilities associated with the job. And job design is basically related to content of the job, autonomy, degree of autonomy, that is relationship with other jobs, okay. So, this job design and job analysis along with what we have just described about the structure. Okay. These three things are prerequisite to start any HR activity in the organization. Okay. So, unless you understand the structure, unless you know what is the content of the job, okay, what are the duties and responsibilities associated with the job, you cannot have a full fledged structure who is going to work, isn't it? Now, if you look at this, okay, now you have a position say called Dean Sponsored Research and Industrial Consultancy. Okay. You have to design this job. Design in the sense you have to see that what would be the content in terms of what? Content in the sense, yes, job design, that is the part of the job analysis.
So specification of the job,
Like?
so like whether it's like for maintenance or marketing.
No, that is made clear that he is the person who is responsible for in the specific, sponsored research and industrial consultancy. This is the job. Okay. when you list down the duties and responsibilities of a sponsored research dean, then it is clear that he is going to oversee the activities related to sponsored research. Okay. He is also look into the consultancies that the institute is going to take up through its faculty, what kind of research projects are going to be there, how to liaison with the government, funding agencies, industries to bring in more projects, isn't it? So, that is what? That is the duties and responsibilities. What about design, job design? I am talking about the content. Yes?
Like when it's going for recruitment procedure,
Yes? Anybody? Seniors? Job design. So far as the content of the job is concerned, duties and responsibilities is taken care by the job analysis factor. See, apart from autonomy and the relationship of this particular job with the other job, you have to look into the content. What could it be? You have to identify certain things like what are the different tasks. So, you have to identify tasks, task identity, like a person has to perform certain tasks in a given job. Okay. Then you have to put a label to the job, that yes, this is the name of the job which this person is going to do. Okay. Task identity, that is very important. What else is to be done? Yes. What kind of specialization is required to do the job? Okay. How much freedom the person should have in order to perform the job, autonomy, and whether this job is related to other jobs or not, either vertically or horizontally. So, the job of Dean and Strick is related to vertically, that is down the line he will collaborate with head of the departments for projects and consultancies through its faculty. At the same time, he will also collaborate with other deans, isn't it? So, any job has two kind of relationship, vertical and horizontal relationship, okay, because all jobs in organizations are interdependent or linked with each other. Okay. Say even if the sponsored research dean brings in certain projects, but they do not have a faculty to take up this project, what will happen? It cannot materialize, isn't it? What the point? So, it has relationship with other jobs vertically as well as horizontally, and you have to see that how much freedom and autonomy is required by the person to perform the job. That is the control factor, how much control is required, whether you are giving him full autonomy or limited autonomy, or autonomy that is appropriate for doing the job, because in any job you are going to take certain decisions, you are going to perform certain things. Okay. So, whether you can take a decision related to your job or not, or you have to run after your superiors to ask him whether this can be done or not. Okay. So, this is what I mean by job design. We will discuss that in detail next lecture. Then apart from job design, we have job analysis, basically which talks about duties and responsibilities, and that is derived from the job design, isn't it? So, you list down the duties, you list down the responsibilities, and at the same time you also try to find out what kind of qualities are required by the person to perform the job. So, duties, responsibilities and qualities are part of, you can say, job analysis. Qualities in what sense? In terms of qualification and experience which a person require to perform the duties and responsibilities associated with a particular job. Got the point? So, these things, structure, design and analysis is a prerequisite to proceed further to understand functions of human resource management. Okay. Now, coming to the next one, strategic management of human resources. Okay. strategies are adopted for the management of the people. What kind of strategies you are going to adopt, so that you can attract, retain and motivate the people in the organization for best performance, isn't it? So, you have to see that what could be the various strategies. Strategies, I mean action plan. Okay. So, HR managers are also responsible to develop strategies to attract the best people for the organization. Of course, they have their own constraints and resources, limited resources, within which they have to attract the best person for the job. They have to retain him. They have to adopt certain HR practices which will help organization to retain people in the organization. Okay. Create good working conditions, provide good salary, create good infrastructure, so that people stay back with the organization, otherwise they would leave. Who is responsible for this kind of thing? HR managers. So, HR managers are basically responsible for attraction, retention and motivation. Okay. They should devise methods so that people are motivated either by monetary means or non-monetary means, through recognition, appreciation and things like that, so that people are motivated to perform better. Okay. Planning, that is very important, okay, where we are going to talk about the number of people that is required to work in the organization. Okay. So, when we talk about HR planning, that is quality and quantity of people. Quality and quantity both are required. I mean, how many people would be required at any given point of time by the organization to carry out all the activities, isn't it? And with what kind of qualification and experience. So, you look into quality and quantity both. At the same time, when you go for manpower planning, you ensure that you have the right number of people, and that is quantity, and the right kind of people, that is quality, at the right time. I mean, any time you must have just enough number and at the right place. Okay. So, that is how we define manpower planning. We will talk about that also. Then acquiring human resources, that is basically recruitment and selection activities that is taken by the organization. It's clear to you? Coming to another function, building individual and organizational performance. Okay. Once people join the organization, they are going to perform their job. Okay. Managers are also responsible to ensure that people perform to the best of their knowledge and skill in the organization, isn't it? And you also measure their performance. If you remember yesterday, we are talking about it. Evaluate the performance of the people. Okay. You train them if they are not good, if their performance is not up to the mark, they are being trained, so that the gap between actual and required performance is fulfilled. For example, you are not performing up to the level, you are being trained, and after training it is seen that yes, your performance is up to the level or up to the mark. It means the gap has been filled up by the training. At the same time, certain administrative decisions are also taken based on performance appraisal report. Based on your performance report, you are given incentives, promotions, rewards, recognition, appreciation, everything is related with your performance appraisal report. Okay. So, your reward is linked with the performance. Rewarding implies through performance appraisal. Okay. And the thing is that you are going to look into the compensation management. We were talking about that. Direct compensation is wage and salary. Indirect compensation is fringe benefits. Indirect is that is not directly paid to you. Okay. That is not in cash, but rather in kind, isn't it? Like you are given telephone facility, okay, medical facilities, leave travel allowances, isn't it? This is indirect compensation. Okay. Next important function is maintaining human relations, human resources. Now, when we talk about maintaining human resources, okay, basically we talk about union management relationship. So, there is a need to develop a cordial relationship between union and management and the workplace. Okay. How it can be done? Through bargaining. This is what we know as collective bargaining. What happens in collective bargaining? The representatives of the union and the management sit across the table and negotiate about the terms and conditions of employment, including wages. Okay. This is what I mean by collective bargaining. Then when a person is retiring or when a person is resigning from the job, okay, it is the responsibility of the HR manager to conduct exit interviews. Have you heard about it? Yes, exit interviews are conducted if a person who has been selected for the job is leaving for certain reasons. Okay. Then an interview is arranged with the HR manager, where HR manager is going to ask him certain questions like why you are leaving, what kind of problems you face, what are the prospects, if you have any better prospects somewhere, you tell us, okay, why you are going there, why you are not able to provide this. So, he tries to get some feedback so that he can improve the system in place, isn't it? That is why he is also responsible for conducting exit interviews. Okay. Recently, there was a recruitment in Tata Steel, okay, and what actually happened that after serving for several months, young graduate engineers started resigning or leaving the organization. Organization was very much worried about it. They entrusted this responsibility to the chief HR manager, and then he arranged an interview of all the candidates who had resigned and were joining other places, in order to get the feedback from them that why these people are leaving. It was not that Tata Steel was not paying better or the infrastructure and facilities were less or not comparable with industries. He wanted to identify what could be the various reasons. Okay. So, and after getting these feedback, he tried to include those things in the system, so that when they are going for recruitment next time, they are better prepared, isn't it? So that they are able to retain people in the organization. See, the biggest and the most important thing today for HR manager is to attract and retain good people in the organization. Okay. I can give example from IIT Kharagpur itself. In many of the departments, including ours, we are not able to get good faculty. You will be surprised to know that a place like IIT, not many people are coming forward to join such institutions. Why? There are certain reasons. Okay. So, getting competent people and retaining them, both are very difficult these days. I was just having the data that how much we spend on recruitment. Okay. The institute has spent lakhs of rupees, okay, in order to recruit just 30 faculty, okay, and out of that only 7 have joined so far. Okay. So, the total cost of recruitment is coming around 1 lakh per candidate. Just imagine that how much money you are spending to recruit people in the organization. You get people, but getting good competent people and retaining them is the most difficult task for most of the organizations. Okay. So, you constantly try to get feedback through different sources, and one of the sources those who are leaving the organization, that why they are leaving, and that is why exit interviews are conducted to find it out. Okay. Outplacement. What is that? Outplacement? Yes, Rajesh. Yes, that is basically you are going to rehabilitate. Suppose you do not have a job for a person, and for certain reasons he is being retrenched or laid off. So, you help him to find out a job. Okay. that is also the responsibility of the HR manager. Though it is not a part of his duty and responsibility, but as a moral obligation or as a social responsibility, he is also taking up this responsibility that those who are going to be laid off from the organization, okay, they can find a suitable job for themselves. And employment at will. Okay. Organizations are also trying hard to see that yes, people are coming willingly to work in the organization. Okay. The last point is multinational human resource management. What is multinational human resource management? Managing people across the globe. Now you have multinational organizations, so you have people working from different countries, different cultures, isn't it? So here I am talking about international human resource management, managing people in a cross cultural setting. Okay. Suppose you are going to work for your company in Japan, then it is the responsibility of the HR manager to train you to understand the language, the social etiquette, so that you can adjust yourself better at the new workplace in Japan. Otherwise, you will find it difficult, isn't it? So, who is responsible for training and these kind of things? The HR manager. Then HR manager is going to arrange a special training for you so that you understand Japanese language. He will also arrange a cross cultural training so that you are told about Japanese culture and society, because you are going to work there, isn't it? And the cultural norms are different there. So, if you adopt the same cultural norm, probably you may lose business as well. So, you have to understand the etiquette, the social norm and practices that is followed by the host country, isn't it? So, this cross cultural training is very important, especially in the case of international human resource management. Okay. Migration problem, visa problem and other kind of things are also taken care by managers, okay, who are working in multinational companies, especially HR managers. Now, we had been talking about why HR has gained so much importance. We discussed about some of the factors, like because there is increased competition to retain and attract good people. So, everybody is after them. There is a crisis in the industry, economic crisis. Okay. Instead of having employment security, you are going for more employability of the people in the organization. Okay. Commitment is towards the career. Domestic front also you face lot of competitions, isn't it? For any product you see, you have a number of products. So, the domestic competitions has increased as well. Then the government also want industries to adopt fair employment practices. Okay. You just cannot throw out anybody. Then demographic changes, you have a cosmopolitan workforce, okay, people working from different say segments, different geographical areas, okay, they consist of different age groups. Okay. Female participation in the workforce is increasing, isn't it? Values of the workforce is changing. Okay. The expectations have changed. The expectations that people had 20 years earlier is not there. Okay. Like I am writing something and that will make it clear the kind of values that is basically driving people today. I am writing two sentences. The shift is there now, okay, from living to work to working to live. You are not just living to work like a mad person, but you are working to lead a good comfortable life, isn't it? That is the value change. Okay. If you do not find a job very satisfactory, you do not stick to that today, because you think that it cannot give you a good life. So, this is the change in the perception and the values of the workforce today. Okay. customer focus. The most important thing today is that you are not working in a monopolistic market, okay, where you can sell your product because no other product is available. But today's market is different. Okay. The change is from seller's market to buyer's market, isn't it? For any product you have a number of alternatives, you can choose any one of them. Okay. So, anything that you do, you must keep the customer in your mind, because if the customer is not happy and satisfied with your product, anything that you do will be a exercise which does not help you, which will not bring fruit, isn't it? So, customers' expectations must be met by providing them better quality product at a competitive price, by providing them better services afterwards. Okay. Now, you have sold a product and your responsibility is not over. Whether you can provide good service at a reasonable cost, at a faster speed, that is very much important today. If you cannot provide service at a speed that is desired by the customer, you will not be able to survive in the market today. Okay. So, these things are also important. Now, look into some of the internal factors, okay, that why HR is important. Since you are going for downsizing, restructuring and reorganizing, you have to see that people who are working in the organization, they are engaged in productivity, their efficiency increases and they are able to maintain quality. So, quality and productivity is important. Okay. So, it is the responsibility of the HR manager to motivate, that is basically related to the motivation. What we had been talking about was attraction and retention. The third important factor is motivation. So, unless you motivate people and they are involved and committed to perform well, you cannot increase productivity and efficiency of the people. New technologies and production concepts. Okay. HR is also responsible that people are trained with the new technologies, okay, state of the art production technologies, so that they can work more efficiently. So, they need to arrange training programs and do everything that is required, isn't it? Education of the workforce, training and development is another major activity which is taken up by the HR department. You know, the most of the HR department also have a training department, in-house training department, where they regularly conduct training programs for the managers as well as workers both. Okay. So, in-house training is conducted. If they do not have the training facility in-house, then they send workers and managers to attend training programs at different places, academic institutions, management institutions, isn't it? In areas which may include technical as well as behavioral both, responding to slower growth changes in the market. Okay. The organization has to respond and ensure that the growth rate is maintained, isn't it? So, what is the responsibility of the HR manager here? It is the responsibility of the top management. Why HR manager should be responsible or should intervene to ensure that yes, the growth rate is constant or maintained at least if it is not growing up. Yes, Rajesh? Why HR manager should come into the picture if the organization is not making a profit? Yes. Okay. The question is that what is there for HR to do? Is it going to do the same traditional thing which they had been doing so far? That can be outsourced also, isn't it? Whether it is wage and salary maintenance or whether looking into employee welfare activities. Now, HR is going to perform a more strategic role in the organization. They have to see that what is their contribution for business growth and development, isn't it? So, they have to help organizations and educate and train them, especially top management, to ensure that they are able to better visualize the changes that is taking place in the market, in the environment, so that they can respond to it. And that is possible only when HR manager is more proactive, okay, and train top management so that they can understand the nature and dynamics of the market, isn't it? That is why you will find that some of the training programs are arranged for the top management as well, where they are able to understand the vision and mission, how to develop goals, how to develop strategies for the organization, how to understand the external environment in which they are going to operate. External environment means the market, the customers. Restructuring and reorganization. Okay. Since HR managers are engaged in development of the structure, okay, and you know that this structure is developed intensely depending upon the requirement of the organization. Okay. So, it is the responsibility of the HR manager that if need arises, they can change the structure of the organization. You know that most of the organizations are going for re-engineering, restructuring and reorganization. From taller structures, they are developing flatter structures, okay, reducing the number of levels, reducing the hierarchy, isn't it? And HR managers are helping the management to develop this new structure which facilitate growth and development. Why you have a structure? So that all the activities are carried out smoothly, but if it is creating some kind of hindrance or is creating some barriers, okay, then you have to change the structure. Okay. And that is why most of these organizations are going for reorganization and restructuring. Okay. You are going for multi-skilling of the workforce, so that they are more flexible and adaptable at work. Okay. If you are specialized in a particular job, then what will happen? You will do only those things. But if you are multi-skilled, if you are trained in doing a number of things, then you are more flexible in your work. You can take up other assignments as well when the need arises, isn't it? And you can better adapt to different type of work. Okay. So, instead of developing very specialized skills, you need to develop certain skills which is required by the organization, and that is where multi-skilling comes into the picture. You should be multi-skilled. You should not be specialized only in a particular job which you are doing, but when time comes you can do other jobs. Okay. Now, look at what kind of changes are taking place in the human resource management. Okay. The major change is that the department of personnel management or human resource management, okay, the one major change that has come into a picture, if you remember it, that most of the departments which were known as personnel department have changed their name as human resource department, HR department. But by changing this nomenclature, the activities have not changed yet, they are still performing the same thing. Okay. And the visible trend is that these personal responsibilities are being decentralized. Decentralized in the sense that non-core activities are being outsourced, or it is also given to the line manager sometime to reduce the burden on the HR manager. Okay. Okay. Train towards reintegrating personal functions that used to be separated: compensation, performance appraisal and evaluation. Okay. All these functions are linked together. Okay. So, performance appraisal, reward system, evaluation, all these functions are being linked together. Okay. And you know that many of the companies are going for information systems, okay, what we know as human resource information systems. So, you buy certain softwares like SAP and other softwares. SAP HR is one module. Okay. It is a human resource information system software, and with the help of this software you can integrate all HR activities together. Okay. Any places. Okay. Using LAN, WAN, whatever you say, wide area network, LAN, local area network. Okay. And all the informations are at your fingertip. One person can do the job of 10 persons. You can go for online processing of applications and things like that. You have a centralized database and all the database is over there, and there is one person who is sitting over there and doing all the job. So, you are also reducing the burden of the HR department. With few people you can do the entire job of HR department. Okay. Most of these non-core activities like managing say salary, looking after the welfare activities are being outsourced. Formal recognition that HR policy is just as much a part of corporate policy as other functions. Now, the problem in most of the industries were that HR department was treated as a second rate citizen. I do not know whether Rajesh would agree with me, but the line managers used to treat HR managers as second rate citizens. They think that it is a service department and their role is to provide the services to other departments. Now, that role is changing, and it is very important for HR managers to change the perception of line managers that they are also adding value to the business. They are also contributing to improve the performance of the business. Okay. So, HR policy is as good or equally treated as corporate policy. Got the point? Now, look at the current and future challenges to human resource management. It is the last point which we are discussing. That is formal recognition. Formal recognition that personal HRM policy is just as much a part of corporate policy as other functions. Okay. Now, coming to the last one, that is current and future challenges of human resource management. Corporates are going to reorganize themselves. Reorganize in the sense they are reducing the levels in the hierarchy, they are reducing the headcounts. From taller they are going to be more flatters. Because to meet the global competitions, they are going for more strategic alliances like joint ventures, mergers, acquisitions. Okay. The growth is more cyclical in the nature. There are lots of ups and downs in industries that is going on. Okay. Diversity is increasing in the workplace. Workplace diversity, I think I have already talked about, is that you have people working from different caste, culture, color, race, sex, isn't it? So, managing a diverse workforce is another important challenge for the HR managers. And when organizations are going for strategic alliances like joint ventures, mergers and acquisitions, the HR manager role is very important. He has to see that employee related issues are taken care of, otherwise there will be a problem. Then at the same time he is also supposed to meet the expectations of the employees, okay? Because organizations are nothing else but a part of the society. So, organizations exist to meet the requirement of the society, isn't it? So, you have to see that what is the social responsibility of the organization. Okay, we talk about corporate social responsibility, corporate ethics, not to pollute the environment, isn't it? To be ethical in their conduct and behavior, isn't it? So, organizations must be treated as vehicles for reaching these societal goals, that organizations are also responsible towards society, because ultimately they are part of the society itself. Now, these are the challenges. HR professionals as strategic business partners. Okay. HR must be made a partner in assisting corporate leaders. They have to integrate HR strategy with business strategy. Okay. They have to create new options and possibilities. It means they should create an environment where managers can think in a non-traditional way, that is thinking out of the box. Okay. Now, another important challenge is leading change in the organization. So, they are known as change agent. Okay. So, if there is any change in the organization, they should facilitate it in such a way, so that there is less resistance and more commitment to the change by the employees. So, they go for leading change, they are going to look into employee relationship, they are going to see that organizations are able to plan and better implement the changes which they want to bring in. Okay. Now, third important point is teaching HR competencies to the line managers. Okay. The misnomer that only HR department should take care of all the activities and line managers should not take care of people related issues is not correct. Actually, HR managers should also teach line managers that they can also handle people related issues in their respective departments. So, that burden on the HR is reduced. Okay. Decentralize HR activity, you are going to downsize your HR, that will help to downsize the HR department itself, because line managers will also share the responsibility of the HR. Okay. And the next one is coping with more complex laws and labor laws. HR managers must be good in understanding laws, general laws which is applicable to industries, as well labor laws which is very important for them. How government policies are going to affect people working in the organization, and they should also work and liaison with various institutions to attract good people. Okay. So, there is a better need to have better interaction or interface between academia and industry, and HR manager can act as a liaison for this purpose, isn't it? And finally, keeping up with the changing technology. Okay. Technology is defined as the nature of production system. So, you have to use technology for various things, and that is what we call about human resource management systems or HRIS, where you are going to use technology to help HR to grow and develop. Okay. Like technology in the delivery of HR services to the employees, use technology to track applications. You know that today we talk about online applications, even recruitments are being done online, isn't it? And you also ensure that the administrative aspects of HR is handled by the technology. So, you have a software related to human resource management, HRIS software, which will take care of the administrative issues, so that you are free to take up more important issues as an HR manager. Okay. So, that is all for today. Thank you.